everyone. This is Carrie back with How to Homeschool My Child. Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you for an awesome week. I can't believe it is day 5, one more day of our challenge, and I actually left the most fun to the end, and I call it fun learning. We're going to talk about a love of learning. If you're just joining us, we have been spending all week talking about getting ready for 2022. Each day we had a very simple challenge, and all you needed to do was write it on a post-it note and then put it in a certain place. For instance, on day 1 we talked about the importance of spending time with God, and so the challenge was, what time do you commit to spend time with God each day? And then you write it down, and I encourage you to put it by your bed so you set an alarm and you're up and going. Another one was something about the children and about what they were going to be doing in homeschooling, or maybe a homeschool organization tip. I said, put that wherever your planner is. The kids' behavior. There was one yesterday. We talked about kids' behavior and character and motivation and focus and distractions. And I suggested that you put you could either put each child's name on one, and then whatever, I would put their child's name, what it was they were working on, and then the Bible verse that you're going to use to get that. And so that would be something I would put on the refrigerator, because the refrigerator is a place that when something's melting down and we're having a problem with that issue, we can go straight to the refrigerator, pull it down, read the verse together. I also encourage you to memorize that verse. So there are a lot of things that we have covered. We've covered scheduling, time management, organization, and today we get to talk about lifetime learners. How do we encourage our kids to be lifetime learners? As I go through this session, if you have any questions, just put them in the comment section, even if you're on the replay, because I've been trying to go back and look at the replay and see if we have any questions. I know I did that yesterday evening after I did my Q&A. So again, I'll be back at this evening at 6 o'clock Central, 6 o'clock Eastern time for Q&A. So if you have questions about what we're talking about, leave them here, or send me a DM, or send me an email. So here are some things that I've been hearing from homeschool moms. How do I make learning fun? How do I make reading fun? How do I make math fun? Some of them are specific subjects, some of them are just general. I don't have the energy to do fun things. I want fun activities to be a part of my regular routine. Fun learning is overwhelming. How do we do math, reading, writing without crying? Good point. How do I add extras without losing the main curriculum? I'm going to stop right there, and I'm going to say that goes back to the one goal that you set on Monday. Everything we have done always goes back to that one goal that you have set. And so if math, reading, and writing are your one goal, then you need to deal with that, and it may be more of a hard issue that we talked about yesterday. But you need to see, sometimes our kids are crying over things that really aren't that important to us when we go back to the big picture and we look at that one goal. So I think that is one thing we need to consider. Oh no, I'm talking, not crying, without losing time with the main curriculum. What is the main curriculum? That's what I was talking about. I sort of got sidetracked. What is your main curriculum? You're not going to lose time if you're focused on that one goal. And so anything extra that you add to go along with it is good. But if it's, the other subjects, if that's not your one goal, that's just icing on the cake. And we talked about loop scheduling on Tuesday to give you some help with that. What are more engaging, creative ways to teach? How do you include daily living, real life skills? How do you do this with many ages in your homeschool? I'm going to back up to the daily living, real life skills one. I just copied a bunch of y'all's questions, and that's how I came up with this topic. So I'm trying to meet your needs. I'm not just making it up. Daily living activities, real life skills. I'm going to talk about that tonight. So let's just talk about, especially these ideas about fun, creativity, and engaging. If you could reduce the crying and the complaining in your home, how would that change the way your day looks? How would it? Leave a comment below, even if you're watching the replay. If you could reduce the crying and complaining in your home, I know what it would have done for my homeschool. Because, I'll be honest, my kids didn't always love learning. If you listen to a speaker that says my kids always love learning, they just think homeschooling is awesome and on and on. I don't think that's completely true. I don't even like doing some things all the time. I complain to God. So, I'm not saying it's still a sin to grumble and complain, but it is a part of our human nature and we need to deal with it. So I don't think that we're all perfect in the ideas of love of learning. So I think what we need to do, if they're crying and complaining, how could we fix this? I think we need to go back and look at how our child learns best. Sometimes we are forcing a curriculum on them that doesn't work. For example, in math, we used Matthew C. I loved it. I wished I had it as a fifth grade teacher because it explained, they had to understand the concept before they could use the algorithm. It was awesome. And they used blocks and visuals the entire time. So we use that all the way up. Ashley didn't finish Algebra 2, and I had a feeling she was having some issues with Matthew C. When Gentry got to Algebra, I made a change. And so I changed to Saxon Math and Dive CDs. Back then, Dive was a company that taught the lessons for Saxon. They now have their own curriculum, and I was trying to think of it. It's Karen and David Shorman Math. So if you're looking for a great math program, go look at Shorman Math. He was basically Gentry's teacher and Hunter's teacher as a freshman when he was still at Homeschool. I had to change the way we were teaching math to fit what worked with them best. Are you using something that you're sort of forcing them in a way that they're not learning? Our kids can be visual learners, they can be auditorial learners, or they can be tactile, or they can be all three. Which one? And your kids may be different, and you may have to make different choices for different children. Just like we handle behavior different. Some kids respond to one discipline over another one. Some kids respond to one blessing over another one. So we need to take our kids individually. That is the beauty of homeschool. We're not on the conveyor belt. We're not doing the same thing in first grade as everyone else, or the same thing in second grade and third and all the way up. You know, that conveyor belt just drives me crazy. You need to hop off that conveyor belt. If you want more information on hopping off that conveyor belt, come to my masterclass next week. It is 4 steps to raising Christian leaders in your homeschool. Because if you want to raise your kids to lead, you have got to hop off that conveyor belt. And I'm going to give you a lot of details on how to do that as well. So the other thing I think we need to think is what does the word study mean? There was actually a study on this, or I was listening to a tape, and a guy would say, I would get up in a presentation, a live presentation, and I said, okay, everyone that's older, and he had some age, but it was at least over 30 or 40 years old, probably 40, it says, when you think of this word, I want you to shout out whatever the first word that comes to your mind. And he said study. And you know what the older people said? Books. Then he said, okay, everyone younger, when I say the word study, what comes to your mind? And they were all saying devices, laptop, computer, iPad. So, again, I am not for using a device for everything. And I think we need real physical books. You know, here's one. Real books that you open up and you turn the pages to. But I think there is a place for technology. And so you need to look and evaluate what you're doing and see if there's a better way to teach. You don't need to change everything as far as being creative and engaging. Don't change everything. Make one small change, maybe one small change for each child, or one small change for your whole homeschool. All right, so that's creative and engaging. The other thing I want to talk to you about is fun learning. Unit studies would be one way, because that is the natural way of learning. If I want to learn something, I go and read a book, I look on computers, I watch a video, I go and get my hands in, I actually practice doing it. And I think unit studies address all types of learning, auditorial, visual, and tactile. So that would be a benefit. The other thing with unit studies is everyone can study at the same time, the same topic. And mom doesn't have to be so scattered. Oh, you're doing American history. Oh, you're doing the Renaissance. You're doing that. Everyone. And for history, we did many unit studies the whole time. And so we would read books together. We would watch videos together. We would play games together. We did projects together, or they did their own project. There was something else that just popped in my head and I forgot what they did. Anyway, so unit studies were very good. Oh, yeah, we played games together as well. And even hands-on activities. So that's one way to encourage learning. I would let your kids choose what the topic is. Okay, the other one I wanted to mention was games. If you have a young boy, like I had a son, are they competitive? Do they want to always win? If you could introduce games into their studies to learn, do you think they would learn better with the game just because they're competitive? I'm going to show you a game that we actually used. Um, and Hunter did not like art. He actually complained when we go to the Fine Art Museum in Houston. And but we were in Tennessee, and I bought this fine arts game. And we played it the entire way home from Nashville to Houston. I mean, to home. And he wanted to win. He learned everything there was about all these pieces of art. And so it was a great thing. He didn't care if it was a game. He wanted to win. His sisters used to say, Hunter won't ever quit playing basketball because he's like, oh, time out. We got to go eat lunch. It's not finished yet, because he always wanted to win. What about your son? Would games make a difference? I mean, there's so many kinds of games. Here's one. It's the author's card game. And here's a Greek and myth legend card game. Easy way to win. Play some card games. And then I'm going to show you some just thinking skill games as well. How about Clue? I mean, kids of all ages play Clue. You got to think to figure out who the murderer is in that particular game. We have this game too. There's lots of these types. Pente. It's a game of skill. And this would be another game just for critical thinking. And this one I think all of you have probably heard of is Risk. Risk is a great game for a whole family, and it can probably last more than one night. But that's another game. There takes a lot of thinking skills in all of that. So you're doing two things when it comes to leadership education. And if that was one of my goals, I wanted my kids to be able to think critically, make wise decisions, and glorify and honor Jesus Christ. That was my big vision. That would be my one goal. So I would do that. So part of critical thinking would be using some of these games. No, it is not. I did not use critical thinking. Okay, excuse me. I did not use critical thinking workbooks because I think they're just paper and pen, and you're still on that conveyor belt. Let's use real life thinking skills. Now I'm going to talk a lot more. I've got a whole one of those whole steps in 4 Steps to Raising Christian Leaders is developing critical thinking skills. Another step is love of learning. So I've only given you the tip of the iceberg. I have 15 strategies that I teach in my Raising Leaders course on love of learning. I will be sharing a few different ones in my class. I don't have time, obviously, to share 15. That would take a whole class in and of itself. So, if you would like that, again, if you want to sign up for that free class, it is howtohomeschoolmychild.com/4steps. Now, how do we do this? How do we fit all this in? You're feeling like, how do I add one more thing? How do I do all this? Well, here are a few things. Oh, and by the way, you can just do simple games like tic-tac-toe and hangman. There are easy games that you could just do reviews with, easy things like that. I would say in your evenings and during your family time. In the evening, we played games, we read aloud. In the mornings, first thing we did was family time, and it may not be a game, but it may be a review and working on our unit study, and then we would read aloud as well. I would encourage you to think about unit studies. And it doesn't have to be a full out month on, but maybe take 1 week this semester and plan one unit based on what your kids are interested in. And then see how they respond to the activities. Don't make worksheets for them. Find real activities for them. So those are creative and engaging ways to change our kids' attitude about learning and make it fun. And then some fun learning ideas on unit studies and games. All right, daily challenge. Here's what it is. Number 1, what learning activity will you do? What fun learning activity will you do in the next week? That's 1. Number 2, when will you do this activity? All right. And it doesn't have to be one of the ones that I mentioned. It can be any of them. If you have questions on fun learning, critical thinking, creative and engaging things, I will be talking tonight about real life skills. I didn't really get to that, so I will talk about that this evening as well. So, y'all have a great day.